We often hear the word accountability a lot, especially when it relates to teachers. And of course, that is obviously a very important part of the process. But I want to broaden that out a little bit and talk about culturally who's really responsible for our schools. Well, obviously, it's not just teachers. You've got parents, legislators, administrators, main office people, support staff. All of those folks are really important in the process of building the right kind of culture for our schools. And in order to really create excellent schools, we need to rethink our culture. Because if we only hold accountable our teachers, then we're not really building the kind of culture, because obviously building the right sort of culture would take more than just a little bit of time. We'd have to worry about the different aspects of how this attitude or this value or this belief would affect how students perceive the learning process. Because it's been my experience over the 40 years of my time in classrooms is that students perceive the value of something by the way the culture surrounds it. If we believe that something is valuable, we need to train students to believe it's valuable. And what we have failed to do in this country over the last 25, 30 years is to convince students, honestly, that an education is really important. Because there are so many other things that we place in front of it, which is another whole video, which I'll do later. But we need to focus in on a broader concept of accountability, not just the idea that teachers are accountable, because of course they are, and they should be, and there are ways to do that properly. I don't think testing is the way to do that, which we'll get into in another video too, because that's another whole subject area. But what we need to do is create an environment in which teachers can teach and parents can parent, and we have a conversation, a constructive conversation where we lay out the ground rules, where we create an environment that encourages students to take learning as a primary value. And if as a culture, a wider culture outside the school, we don't do that, then that has to change. And so the idea of accountability, in my view at least, and in my experience over the years, is a much broader concept than simply giving students a test or having a principal come and watch me teach in my classroom. It's a much broader concept, and we need to decide what exactly that is and how to create a culture where we can really do that. And that's why I wrote my book, Teaching Lessons, because I wanted to approach it from that perspective. And that's why I would suggest that book to you, of course, because I wrote it. But I think it's important to think about the wider culture and how it impacts how students perceive learning and how they perceive school. Thanks so much.